Salt in the kitchen isn't actually your biggest enemy. Something hiding in the kitchen right now is doing more damage to your heart failure than the salt shaker ever could. And it's probably something you eat every single day without a second thought. You've been told to watch your salt. Maybe you've stopped adding it at the table. But if that's the only change you made, you've probably missed out on most of the problem. Let's talk about what actually is going on. I'm Dr. Jodie Ann, Senior, a cardiologist and heart failure specialist. By the end of this video, you'll understand where sodium is really hiding in your diet, how fluid and salt work together against your heart, and what is a realistic eating pattern. What does that look like? And one simple thing that you can do today that will teach you more about your own diet than any list of foods to avoid. Here's what most patients aren't told clearly enough. The salt shaker on your table accounts for a small fraction of most people's sodium intake. The real source for almost everyone is processed and packaged foods. Bread, canned soup, deli meat, sauces, frozen meals, cheese, over-the-counter foods, takeaway foods, and restaurant foods. These foods carry sodium levels that are easy to underestimate because the food doesn't necessarily taste salty. And here's why this matters so much more in heart failure than it does for the general population. Sodium doesn't just affect blood pressure, it directly affects how much fluid or water your body holds onto. Wherever sodium goes, water flows, and that's the basic physiology. In a healthy heart, the kidneys manage to balance this very efficiently. In heart failure, that regulation is already under strain. Extra sodium means extra fluid and water retention. Extra fluid retention means more work for your heart that's already struggling. It shows up as swelling, breathlessness, and weight gain. The exact things that we talk about in the 4 zones. So, when patients focus only on the salt shaker and continue eating processed foods without checking labels, they're often unknowingly undoing a significant part of their medication's work. Let me give you a way to think about this that will serve you far better than a list of foods to avoid. You already know how to read a nutrition label for calories or sugar or fat. Most people scanning a label these days look at one of those numbers instinctively. I want you to add one more number to that habit: sodium, measured in milligrams. Here's the target that matters. Most heart failure guidelines recommend somewhere around 2,000 milligrams of sodium a day or less. Your specific target may be different, and it's worth confirming with your care team. To put that in context, a single serve of canned soup can contain 800 to 900 milligrams. A couple of slices of bread might be 300 to 400 milligrams before you've added anything to them. A frozen ready meal can easily contain over 1,000 milligrams in one sitting. You can see how quickly this adds up and how none of it required a salt shaker. The skill I want you to build isn't memorizing a list of banned foods. It's the habit of turning the packet over and checking that one number before it goes in your trolley or onto your plate. That single habit will do more for your sodium intake than any list I could give you. Better yet, don't eat foods that you have to read a label for, as they will contain far less salt. This will make your life far easier. Just eat real food, whole foods, stuff that's come from a farm or off an orchard or out of the sea or from a paddock, unchanged by processing, as nature designed it. Learn to cook. Herbs and spices are a great way to make food taste great without adding further salt, and much better for you. Now, let's talk about fluid because it matters just as much and it's explained far less often. If sodium pulls fluid in, then how much you drink matters too. Not just water, but anything liquid at room temperature. Tea, coffee, soup, juice, even ice cream and jelly can count towards your fluid intake. Most heart failure patients are given a personal daily fluid limit, often somewhere between 1.5 to 2 litres, though this varies significantly and should be set by your own care team based on your specific situation. If you don't know your number, that's a very reasonable question to ask at your next appointment. A practical way to manage this is to measure out your daily fluid allowance into a container each morning, using that same container throughout the day for every drink. So you can see at once at a glance how much you have left. It sounds simple. It works far better than trying to estimate it in your head and is more accurate. So, what should you actually be eating? Let's make this positive rather than restrictive. Fresh vegetables and fruit, fresh or frozen meat, poultry and fish, cooked without added salt. Herbs, spices, garlic, lemon juice and vinegar for flavor instead of salt-based sauces and stock. Plain rice, pasta and potatoes rather than pre-seasoned or instant versions. Homemade meals where you control exactly what goes in, cooked in batches, frozen in portions, so convenience doesn't have to mean a high sodium. This isn't a bland, joyless way of eating. It's a way of eating where you're back in control of what's actually going into your body, which is a very different thing to being handed a list of foods that you're no longer allowed to enjoy. And here's the one thing I want you to do today. The next packaged food you're about to eat, whatever it is, turn it over, check the sodium count before you eat it. Just look at the number. You don't have to change anything yet. Just look. That one small action starts building the habit that matters more than any food list. Once you start looking, you start noticing. And once you start noticing, you start making different choices naturally. Not because you're following a rigid set of rules, but because you can actually see what you're consuming. And if you really want a better way forward, eat real food, not processed food. It will always beat processed and ultra-processed foods for naturally lower salt content. Salt at the table was never the real problem. What's hiding in your pantry and your freezer is where the real opportunity is, and now you know exactly what to look for. My free heart failure tracking kit includes your fluid limit tracker and daily weigh-in diary, so you can see directly how your eating and drinking connect to your weight and your symptoms. It's linked in the description below. Subscribe for a new video every week. It's all designed to give you the clarity that your appointment didn't have time to.